YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer, and continuing Chaos Week. This is going to be some of my battles. If you all have some good Chaos battles, feel free to send them to airtotalwar@gmail.com, and I'll supplement my own battles with some of yours so that you can get a different perspective. This was an interesting map. It kind of reminds me more of Shogun 2. There's a little nasty mud puddle here in the middle. That breaks up some of the center, and then there's a forest along both edges. It's called multiplayer, like MP Blue River or something like that. I don't know, blue something. The map was on there whenever I started it up. My opponent has a unit of Blood Knights hidden, as well as a unit of Hex Wraiths hidden. His vampire army, in my opinion, is not really well picked. I think the vampires should be able to wreck Chaos to an extraordinary extent. He has 2 Cryptors, 3 zombies, 3 skeletons, couple skeleton spears, and several Graveguard, one of which has great weapons, 1 Cairn Wraiths. Cairn Wraiths not a bad pick versus Chaos because they can combine to be good versus armor. I've got a Chaos Giant, 4 Marauders with great weapons, and then 4 Chaos Warriors with great weapons, 2 Chaos Knights, just the standard variety. Chasing off his Hex Wraiths here. Don't really want to engage them because I don't know what else is around. When I scared one of them out, I figured there might be a second. There is a Blood Knight here that he's put a triple silver chevron on. Not really sure what that's about. So these guys will be even more deadly. But yeah, so Cryptors, I don't really have a great answer for Cryptors in my Chaos army at present except for my Giant. So I'm going to try and tie these guys with my Giant. Should be able to do a lot of damage to them. His infantry will actually lose, head on to mine. The only person he's brought for regenerative effect is Vlad von Karstein. No Mortis Engine, which is a very weird pick. And then Vlad does have magic, but nothing else from a magic standpoint. So very, very odd here for the vampires to not be making use of a Mortis Engine against Chaos, who typically does lack a little bit of maneuverability, but maybe he doesn't want to protect it. But I mean, the investment here in these Blood Knights was extreme. I couldn't see the Blood Knights just yet. They were still hidden. And these Cairn Wraiths are hidden there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and engage his Hex Wraiths. I feel pretty confident with my Chaos Knights with infantry backup. And then I've kind of spread out my units to where I'm not in one solid cohesive line for him to engage, because I'm hoping to get some outflanking or little pockets of engagements that I might be able to win. My opponent does not want his Cryptor smashed by a Giant. So I think he sends some zombies out, and I'm just going to kind of chase forward in just a moment. My Giant decides he does want to step on some zombies here. So I smashed the Hex Wraiths pretty good on the charge, but my opponent comes out with his Blood Knights. A charge into my Chaos Knights would have been the best move, but instead he charges at my Chaos Marauders. He will wreck them, but this allows my Chaos Knights to continue to pummel his Hex Wraiths. Which is very bad for him. He definitely could have saved them here. The Marauders would have made little difference in that fight. I'm starting to transfer some more cavalry over to this flank, though it's going a little slow. My main line is composed of, well, I say that. I thought I had 4 Chaos Marauders. I didn't. I've got 2 Forsaken and then just some standard Marauders. My bad. So my Forsaken are over here just absolutely thrashing zombies, which you would expect. So the Forsaken were meant to help me deal some extra damage. Here we're going to pin down a bunch of Cairn Wraiths. All he's got is Skeleton Warriors, which are not great support there. His Blood Knights wrapped up my Marauders. I've got more Marauders on the way, but by that point I had killed his Hex Wraith, which was a very nice trade for my Chaos Knights. So he was a little bit late on that exchange. I've got just a Chaos Lord on a Barded Chaos Steed here, Hell Steed, or whatever the heck that thing's called. I'm going to thread this needle here, and I'm going to go attack Vlad, try and keep him busy. My infantry's easily winning these fights here, and my Chaos Giant's going to deal massive damage to his Cryptors, which I guess he feels are his best answer to the Chaos Giant at the moment, and maybe Gaze of Nagash should definitely be used on the Giant. His Hex Wraiths are destroyed. With my extra cavalry shows up, his Blood Knights want to retreat from that area. It's not exactly surprising. I believe he may have used an Invocation in the Heck on his Blood Knights already. I don't exactly recall. Yeah, my Giant's doing a great job here smashing Cryptors and keeping them from poisoning my Standard, and my Chaos with great weapons are just absolutely laying waste to everything he's got. Even his Graveguard are struggling pretty mightily against my Chaos Warriors with great weapons. 44 kills there, 43 kills. Forsaken to support them, so they're dishing a ton of damage. He chased down my regrouped Chaos Knights. I'm just kind of standing back at a distance waiting for him to come back to me. Vlad is a little too good one-on-one and has too much regeneration, so I'm going to have to play a game of attrition with him. He's using a lot of magic and abilities against me right now that are hurting my melee attack, so I'm just going to run around because Vlad doesn't have any mobility there. He's going to hit my guys with the Gaze of Nagash here, which was really odd. Definitely should have hit the Giant with that. That was a huge mistake. His Cryptors are dying. This unit of Skeleton Warriors in the center is dying, and his Blood Knights aren't going to be able to freely charge my infantry because I have this unit of Chaos Knights around still that he has to deal with. He's used quite a lot of regeneration on his Blood Knights, and so I'm trying to outlast him here, so I'm going to keep throwing hit points at him. And because I don't feel like his army was greatly chosen here, now here you'll notice that I baited him with this Chaos Marauder and pulled away with my cavalry, so he charged it. So his Blood Knights did not get their charge versus my Chaos Knights, but you can see that they are still extremely effective versus my Chaos Knights. So that's going to be a rough engagement for me. I'm just rear-charging Vlad von Karstein. Like I said, I need to inflict more damage to make him waste all of his replenishment here. He's fighting these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, which will inflict plenty of damage to him. My Giants have pretty much wrapped up the Cryptors, and this fight over here against 3 Graveguard, it took all 3 of his Graveguard, and they are still failing to defeat my 2 Chaos Warriors with great weapons who are racking up the kills. Quick rear charge from my Chaos Lord. Trying to get these guys to crumble, and I succeeded here. So the leadership on the vampires is poor, and when they don't have a unit around to support them like this, it's fairly easy to get a unit even like Graveguard just kind of start crumbling, which will impact their performance. And the Blood Knights, I'm kind of just whittling away at their hit points and keeping them from entering the fight anywhere else, so that's definitely worth it for me. Going to chase Vlad with my Chaos Warriors so that he has to try and deal with them, while my Chaos Lord, who I still haven't used his healing potion, I'm holding on to it for when necessary. Continuing to rear charge the Graveguard, trying to drop their leadership and get them to crumble, allowing my Chaos Warriors to win. So again, they've put up a pretty spectacular performance. All this units here can now transfer over. Just going to leave me in good shape. Still holding up the Blood Knights, but the Blood Knights decisively winning this fight. Once they lose their charge bonus, they slow down a little. Going to hit Vlad in the back here. So again, we gotta try and work all the hit points out of Vlad. He replenishes extremely quick. I've got a few units that can come back into the fight too, so I'm just kind of bouncing around here with the Chaos Lord trying to dish out some damage. And we're having a fairly good effect right now. The Graveguard's getting wrapped up over here. The Graveguard with great weapons. We've got 68 kills. Could have been against a lot of Marauders though. I'm at 99 kills and 59 kills there. Forsaken there with 80 kills. So not a bad performance at all. We got another Forsaken over here with 287 kills. Probably a lot of Skeleton Spears, Skeletons, other stuff like that just don't have a chance against the Forsaken. My Chaos Lord, I was contemplating whether or not to throw him over here, but the bonus versus large on the Blood Knights was not very appealing. And Vlad is, Vlad's just pinned down, basically. So I need to continue to pin down these Graveguard. Here comes a rear charge from the Forsaken. That's going to deteriorate the rest of these Graveguard, get them off the battlefield. Vlad is having to heal a lot of hit points. He's still got quite a few to go, but at this point all he's got left on his side is a Blood Knight. And I've got one pretty healthy unit of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, 2 more that are in decent shape with a ton of kills. And then I've got a few Chaos Knights who are just remaining right here long enough to bring my Forsaken in. And I just want to tie down and diss as much damage to the Blood Knights as I can. Now they're fleeing, which means I can chase them. So that's good. They'll take more damage. And Vlad is also fleeing from my Giant and Chaos Warriors. So at this point, I've pretty much got the Vampires lined up for destruction here. My opponent, I think, made some mistakes in his pick here. Going head-to-head with Chaos in terms of an infantry fight as the Vampires is a mistake, unless you have the appropriate support units like the Mortis Engine and the Invocation to Heck to keep them in that fight. Chaos Warriors with great weapons will absolutely flatline Graveguard. Graveguard are actually not very good for their cost. It's all the replenishment that makes them dangerous. So that's kind of my recommendation around those, is just make sure that you support those units. Vlad von Karstein came over here. I brought my Chaos Lord in as well. He's actually, well, I'm trying to swing him out of the fight over here. He's right here trying to push his way out of the fight, but there's some Blood Knights in his way. Vlad's going to get stepped on by a Giant. He's covered in blood too, which you would think the vampires would like that, right? Being covered in food. Yeah, Vlad's getting his face pounded. My Chaos Lord's very much alive. I'm going to use the healing potion on him, and at that point the rest of the vampires crumbled. Like I said, I didn't agree with the pick here. If you think about Chaos, they're going to be heavy infantry, somewhat limited cavalry, and then they do have the ability to bring a giant versus you like I did, and a giant should be a pretty common pick, I would think, for Chaos. Look at this, 303 kills on these Forsaken. Absolutely absurd. These guys can do a ton of damage if they're left to do so, but I don't think they picked up a single chevron either, which is pretty hilarious. So they killed a bunch of trash units. But here, 2 chevrons picked up by many of my Chaos Warriors with great weapons. So these guys got some pretty serious work done in terms of the damage dealt, and then 2 chevrons for my giants as well for taking out the crypt horrors. I got 1 chevron here for killing that hex wraith, but the blood knights just absolutely flattened my chaos knights. So chaos knights definitely no match for the blood knight, especially when someone's invested 3 chevrons. But again, this is still the 3 chevrons here weren't necessary. Could have just been money spent on bats or any number of other stuff. Skeleton warriors not going to do any good versus chaos. You might as well just use zombies. Skeleton spears could be handy versus chaos if you were going to run with, like, say, cheaper vampire cavalry and you wanted to support them, so a potentially decent pick. But when it comes to mainline infantry, he's got 1 grave guard, 1 Cairn Wraith, and 1 grave guard with great weapons, so just not enough hitting power here to bring down a chaos army. If I were him, I would have chosen differently if I were to go take a look at it just real quick. If I switch over to the vampires, if I wanted to hit on chaos, that sounds pretty bad. So these guys don't do any armor piercing damage, but the cost efficiency of the Graveguard with great weapons is not all that great either. So it's kind of interesting to determine how I would want to do this. I mean, chaos is going to field expensive infantry. Part of me honestly would be tempted to just do something like this, just bring quite a few horrors, and then bring a few zombies, and then maybe a couple of Cairn Wraiths. So you get away with a pretty cheap core here. Let's make sure my settings are right. Yeah, I'm on large settings. Definitely, I mean, Vlad's not a bad pick versus Chaos, I don't think. So, I mean, you could either go with a Vlad von Karstein, or you could go with a Strigoi Ghoul King. I like either one pretty well, but let's say we're going to go with Vlad. Vlad the Pappy von Karstein. Spawning zombies. I don't know, let's just leave the spells for the sake of argument here. Definitely think a couple Blood Knights would be a good pick, but we're a little bit over cost at this point too. Let's drop a Cairn Wraith. And then think about this further. Maybe drop another Cairn Wraith. Pick up like a White King with a healing potion. Can't really go wrong there. Give him this Hellsteed and a healing potion. May not hurt too to, well, no, you don't have to worry about being unbreakable, so yeah, just the standard healing potion. So use the horrors to your advantage. Like, so a lot of hit point sponge here, armor piercing, horrors like this, and then just kind of support with the Blood Knights. These guys can go after a Chaos Giant, and especially if they have the help of the Gaze of Nagash from Vlad von Karstein. You have other options here as well to go after Chaos. Chaos can't field a very good flying army, so you have the option to use flying units, which could come in handy. Then you also have the option for stuff like a Mortis Engine. Maybe you want to go lighter on the Blood Knights, and you could load up with, say, like a Mortis Engine like this, and you could throw in, maybe another unit of zombies or skeletons or whatever else it is that you want to use to meet shield for. But this Mortis Engine can definitely help, because the Crypt Horrors under the Invocation of Heck can last for a long time. The Blood Knights can help pick away at a giant. Vlad von Karstein can use Gaze of Nagash on the giant. Lots of different options here. You can spawn units of zombies behind them if you need to. I mean, you could probably cheapen up what you need here. This Macabre thing is terrible, so you could drop that and save some money. Raise the Dead, I think, is worth it. Curse of Years is certainly potentially worth it as well, because it lasts for 27 seconds. Wind of Death is potentially worth it. So, I mean, the rest of this is pretty good. Let's see, what else? So, wow. Huh. Blood Drinker and Von Karstein Rig here. Can we get both? Sure can. Holy crap. The replenishment. So, yeah, insane replenishment. So that's exactly what we would want there. So, yeah, you could get something like this set up, and I think it would have been a lot more difficult for me to beat this. My cavalry definitely could have been rolling around. The Blood Knights could have tried to counter it. The White King could have helped counter my cavalry a little bit as well, since they don't have a bonus versus large. Vlad could then join in against the cavalry while the infantry fight takes place. I mean, not a perfect army, just trying to throw a suggestion out there. I don't know, what would you all try and play against Chaos as the vampires? And then vice versa, I mean, I feel like Chaos is fairly limited in their ability to counter a properly picked vampire. Again, though, I think if the vampire tries to go head-to-head in an infantry brawl, that's their mistake, and you have to make them pay for that. I think the vampires need to use better support units and better cavalry, and then just kind of wipe the Chaos Warriors out from there. That's my thoughts. Anyway, what do you think? HeirofCarthage, appreciating you all. I was about to sign out, but hey, appreciate you all watching this. Appreciate those who are viewing and subscribing and liking and commenting and supporting. It means a lot to me. I very much appreciate it. And appreciate MSI for having sponsored this build so that I can record this for you. I'm enjoying Chaos Week so far. Hope to see you all soon.